welcome to Pre-K Discovery. Miss Barb here. How are you doing? Well, I'm looking at the calendar and I can see that it's a new month. And this new month is February. 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 And for such a long word, it's actually a short month. February only has 28 days, and every 4 years we have a leap year. Well, last year was our leap year, so we have another 3 more years after this one until we have another leap year. So today is Tuesday, and I know that because we're at Pre-K Discovery and it's always on a Tuesday. So let's count 1, 2 days into the month, and today is a special day. Today is Groundhog Day. Well, everybody loves Groundhog Day because it tells us whether we have 6 more weeks of winter or whether we're going to have 6 weeks till spring. Notice that Miss Barb said 6 weeks both times. It doesn't matter what the groundhog sees, his shadow or not, it's always 6 weeks. And do you know why Groundhog Day is on February 2nd? Well, the reason we celebrate Groundhog Day on February 2nd is because it is exactly in the middle of the first day of winter and the first day of spring. So it's 6 weeks until spring, and it was 6 weeks ago that we started winter. So February, being such a short month, it has a lot going on. For example, on February the 14th, we have Valentine's Day. And Miss Barb's going to cover that in our next Pre-K Discovery. We're going to talk about that. We also have President's Day. And President's Day is in February because 2 of our presidents, Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, both celebrate their birthdays during the month of February. So we have a federal holiday of President's Day, and maybe if your mom and dad have a job where they get that day off, you'll be able to do something on that Monday. It's always the 3rd Monday of the month of February. So it's still winter. We're not going to change that until 6 more weeks. So I'm not going to sing the songs today because I think we know them, and we do it every week, and we'll do it next week again. So, but what I want to talk about today is our letter of the day, and our letter of the day is the letter S. S, and S says S. And the reason Miss Barb picked the letter S for our word today is because we're going to talk about shadows. Now, the letter S doesn't sound like S in the word shadow because it has the H behind it, and the word, it changes the way the S sounds. So if we're going to draw an S, it's really easy because you take your marker and you start at the top and you curve around like this and around here and curve around. And that is how you make a letter S. The lowercase s is exactly the same, only smaller. So instead of being on this many lines, it's half the size of it. So the letter S says S. And a good word that makes the sound is snake, because snakes, what sound do they make? S, just like the letter S, they hiss. All right. So Groundhog Day, Miss Barb told you, is today. And we sometimes watch on TV and they pull the groundhog out and they're like, oh, Punxsutawney Phil has seen his shadow. That means he's 6 more weeks of winter because he runs back into his hole. So we're talking about shadows because what is the one thing that makes Punxsutawney Phil possibly see his shadow? Well, it's the sun. And the sun is a light source that, if you see the sun out, you're going to see a shadow. So if it's a sunny day, Punxsutawney Phil's probably going to see a shadow and get scared back in. If it's an overcast day and the clouds are covering up the sun and there's no shadow and Phil isn't scared, 6 weeks until spring. And that gives us hope because, oh, we're going to have an early spring. Well, we don't know for sure. I don't know what the science behind Phil is and how many times he's predicted correctly. But I'll have to check that out. Maybe you should check that out too and see. So I got a story for you guys today, and we're going to read. It's called Gregory's Shadow. Gregory's Shadow. And we talked about the shadow because Punxsutawney Phil. It Says early one cold morning, Gregory Groundhog bundled up before going outside. He had spent the entire winter inside his cozy burrow, and tomorrow was Groundhog Day. The farmers would want to know if Gregory and his shadow came out of their burrow together. If they did, there would be 6 more weeks of winter. But if Gregory came out alone, spring would be coming very soon. Come on, Shadow, Gregory said to his friend. I can't wait until tomorrow. I'm hungry. Let's go dig up something to eat. Well, Gregory was shy, and having a friend like Shadow made him feel brave. They did everything together. It made him, he said, sure, said Shadow, I'm right behind you. Gregory opened the door, and it was a windy day, but the sun was shining and the ground was covered with snow. The two friends reached out the edge of Farmer Ferguson's garden, and Gregory saw another shadow coming towards him. It was waving his arms. What could it be? Gregory was frightened and he ran back home. Wait for me, Shadow called out. But it was too late and Gregory closed the door. He was so scared he forgot about his friend and he pulled the covers over his head, shut his eyes, and Shadow was left outside. Shadow was alone and he was shy too. Being with Gregory made him feel brave. He looked up from the shadow with the waving arms and saw Farmer Ferguson's scarecrow. Whose shadow are you? Asked the scarecrow. I belong to Gregory the Groundhog, replied Shadow. But he left me here, so what should I do? I'd like to help you, but I don't know how, said the scarecrow, and I don't need a shadow. As you can see, I already have one. Shadow felt very sad and he leaned against a tree. Are you lost? Said the tree. Shadow told her about Gregory. I'd like to help you, but I don't know how, said the tree. I don't need a shadow. As you can see, I already have one. I know where I belong, said Shadow, with Gregory, Groundhog, and he walked slowly through the snow. He grew tired, and just then he saw an old barn. That's a good place for me to rest, he said to himself. I'll be able to think more clearly after I have a nap. Shadow climbed into the dark, cozy hayloft, and he fell asleep. Meanwhile, Gregory Groundhog had realized Shadow was missing, and he went hunting for his friend. Maybe he's under the bed, he thought, but all he saw was straw mattress he put there last fall. Maybe Shadow is lost, he said. He must be scared. I will go find him. Gregory spent all day searching through the falling snow and didn't even think how scared he was. He only thought about finding Shadow. When it began to snow harder, Gregory ran into the barn. It was very dark inside. Bang! The barn door blew shut behind him. Up in the hayloft, Shadow opened his eyes. He looked down and saw his dear friend, old Gregory. Gregory looked up and thought he saw something in the hayloft, and it looked like a blue ghost. Gregory was just about to dash out the door when he heard a voice say, It's me, I'm your lost Shadow. Oh, no, you're not my shadow, Gregory said. You're a good ghost. And he ran outside and it stopped to move, snowing. Shadow followed his friend into the bright moonlight, and Gregory wouldn't leave him behind this time. When Gregory Groundhog turned around, he was very surprised. You really are my shadow, he said. I found you at last. And I found you, said Shadow. Never was there a happier pair. They danced together far into the night, and then Gregory said, I almost forgot. Tomorrow's Groundhog Day. The farmers will be looking for me. They made their way back home. If they see us together, they will be unhappy. It will mean 6 more weeks of winter, Gregory told his friend. He didn't want the farmers to be unhappy, and he didn't want to be separated from his friend again. What should he do? Early that morning, the farmers and their families waited to see the groundhog. They watched from a great distance. Here he comes now, said Farmer Ferguson. What will they see? Gregory opened the door to his burrow. It was gray, cloudy day. He sniffed the air. He saw the farmers, and then he had a very good idea. Hide behind me, Shadow, he whispered. Shadow understood. He snuggled up close behind his friend as close as he could and held on tight. He was so close no one could see him. Hooray! The groundhog is staying outside without a shadow. The farmers cheered. Spring will be here soon. Our hard winter is over. Farmer Ferguson gave Gregory some delicious vegetables he had kept in the root cellar. So thanks to him and the good news, oh, what a feast Gregory had. Ever since then, Gregory Groundhog waits until the 2nd of February to open his door, and he and his shadow stay close together all the time. They are always very brave. Well, the groundhog in this story, his name is Gregory, but the one in Pennsylvania, his name is Punxsutawney Phil. And whether he sees his shadow or not, we'll have to see. And maybe by the time you're watching this, you already know. So before we move on to our really cool craft that Miss Barb has for you, I want to do our quick words. And our quick words today are the ones that we've been doing, because I'm not ready to give you a new quick word yet. So our first quick word is the. Can you say the? The. The second one is and. And. Let me hear you say and. Good job. And our last quick word of the day, remember, is I. I. So those are our quick words. The, and I. So next week when we meet, Miss Barb's going to have a new quick word for you. So give me a moment to set up, and we're going to do some shadow drawing. Hi everybody, I told you I'd be right back. So we talked about the groundhog and his shadow, and I want to do a project with you today that you can do at home, because all you need is a light source, some paper, and a marker. We're going to draw shadows, and I want to show you how I take something small like this, and I'm going to make it bigger so I can draw it. So this is my little moose puppet, and I am going to show you how I'm going to make him bigger, and I can draw it bigger on the paper. I know I'm really close up to you guys, but Miss Barb has everything set up and she wants it to be just perfect. So let me turn off the light and turn on my other light source and get my marker, and I'm going to show you how to draw something by using the shadow to draw it, okay? So hold on a second. I'm going to turn off this light, and I'm going to turn on my other light source, which is my phone. Okay, so now you can see that Miss Barb has taken something very small and I've made it very, very big. So you can see that all I have to do is take my marker and I can trace the shadow using the Sharpie. And I can take a smaller thing and make it into a bigger picture. I'm going to trace all around the shadow. And if you have another person with you, it helps because they can hold your items and they can control your light source. Also, another really, really great place to color shadows is outside in the sunlight. And Miss Barb made this so big that it goes off her paper. So this is a really big moose now. And I'll draw the rest of his antlers. And there he is. So let me show you what he looks like with the lights on. Turn the light back on and turn off my phone. Hold on. And you can see that I drew a moose much bigger than what it was. So that is what we're doing today, is shadow drawing. So if you want to do it outside, you can do it using chalk, sidewalk chalk. So if you stand in the right place in the sunlight, you can have another person draw you on the sidewalk, and then you can draw you, and your whole family can all stand out there in different kind of poses, and you can do some shadow art outside. You can also use a window in your house and use the sunlight that way too, and use some markers. Miss Barb used her phone because it has a really, really bright flashlight. So that is how we do shadow art today. So I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to see you guys later. So you guys have a great Groundhog Day, and whether he sees his shadow or not, we know that it's going to be 6 weeks either way till the first day of spring. So happy Groundhog Day, everybody. Goodbye.